The AI shift people have been waiting for may not arrive as a robot walking into an office. It may arrive as the voice on the other end of a support call. It may arrive as a side panel inside Outlook. It may arrive as a spreadsheet assistant that writes the formula before you even remember what the formula is called. And it may arrive quietly inside the company systems people already use every day. That is why the last few days in artificial intelligence matter. OpenAI introduced Presence. Google released a new Gemini Flash model family built around speed, cost, and agent scale. xAI moved Grok into Outlook after launching Grok for Excel. Individually, those sound like separate product updates. One company made a business agent platform. One company made faster models. One company made office add-ins. But together, they point at the same story. AI is moving from something you ask questions to into something companies and workers assign tasks to. That is the real shift. The first wave of AI felt like a chat window. You open ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, or another tool, and you asked for help. Write this email, summarize this article, explain this topic, brainstorm this idea. That was powerful, but the humans still had to carry the work across the finish line. You had to copy the answer, paste it somewhere else, check the result, send the message, update the spreadsheet, call the company, read the policy, click the buttons. The new wave is different. The new wave is not only about answering, it is about acting within boundaries. An agent does not just tell you how to resolve a billing issue. It can verify the caller, look up the account, apply the policy, take an approved action, and escalate to a person when the situation requires it. An agent does not just explain how to write an Excel formula. It can sit inside the workbook, read the selected range, generate the formula, and show the result. An agent does not just tell you what an email thread says. It can sit beside the inbox, pull out decisions, identify owners, draft a response, and let the user approve the next move. That is the difference between asking and assigning. And that is why this story matters for everyday users. Because most people will not experience the agent era by reading a model benchmark. They will experience it when they call a bank, when they deal with an airline, when they file an insurance claim, when their boss expects faster email replies, when their spreadsheet work takes 10 minutes instead of an hour, when the software around them starts doing small pieces of work in the background. So the central question is simple. Are we finally moving from impressive AI demos to AI that does reliable pieces of real work inside the tools and companies people already use every day? The strongest proof right now is OpenAI Presence. OpenAI describes Presence as an enterprise product for trusted voice and chat AI agents. That wording matters. This is not positioned as a fun chatbot for the public. It is positioned as a production system for companies. Presence agents can answer questions, resolve issues, use company systems, take approved actions, and escalate to people when needed. And the important part is not just that the agent talks. The important part is that it connects to company rules. OpenAI says each deployment starts with a specific job. That job might be resolving billing issues, supporting insurance claims, handling employee information technology requests, managing customer support, or helping with outbound sales workflows. The agent gets only the knowledge and system access needed for that job. The company defines the policies. The company defines what the agent can do. The company defines when approval is needed. The company defines when a human should take over. That is the line between a chatbot and a production agent. A chatbot can answer. A production agent can operate inside a workflow. And that is why Presence is the anchor for this video, because it makes the agent era feel less theoretical. OpenAI says Presence already powers its own English language phone support. According to OpenAI, that support channel now resolves 75% of inbound issues without human assistance. That is OpenAI's internal number, so it should not be treated as a universal guarantee. It does not mean every company will get the same result. It does not mean every customer will love it. It does not mean humans disappear, but it does show what OpenAI is trying to prove. The goal is not just an AI that sounds good. The goal is an AI that can handle real requests inside real systems with rules around what it is allowed to do. That is where customer service becomes the first place many people may notice this shift. Not because customer support is glamorous, because customer support is full of defined tasks. Verify the person, find the account, check the policy, explain the balance, update the address, process the basic claim, issue the approved credit, escalate the unusual case. That kind of work is exactly where agents make sense. It is repetitive enough to automate parts of it, but important enough that companies need rules, tracking, and handoffs. Think about the support calls most people hate. You call because your bill looks wrong. You wait on hold. You explain the same problem 3 times. You get transferred. Someone asks for the same information again. Then eventually, if you are lucky, a person finds the account, checks the policy, and tells you what can be done. A presence-style agent is built around compressing that loop. It can understand the request, verify the caller, look up the account, apply the company policy, take an approved action, or hand the case to a human when the rules say it should. That could be a real improvement. Shorter waits, fewer transfers, less repeating yourself, more consistent answers. Support that works during a surge, like an insurance company dealing with claims after severe weather. But there is another side to this. A human support agent can sometimes read the room. A human can hear frustration. A human can understand when a situation is strange. A human can sometimes make an exception, push a case, or interpret a policy with context. An AI agent built around company rules may be faster, but it may also be more rigid. That is the missing angle. People usually talk about AI customer service like the only question is jobs. Will this replace call center workers? That is a real question, but it is not the only question. The everyday user question is also this. What happens when customer support becomes a system that never gets tired, never loses patience, and never forgets the rules, but also may never bend the rules for you? That is a different power dynamic. You may get faster service, but you may also get more consistent enforcement. The old customer support experience had human friction. The new one may have policy friction. And for companies, that might be exactly the point. An agent can be designed to follow the company playbook every time. It can escalate only when the policy says to escalate. It can take only the approved actions. It can be tested against common requests, edge cases, and higher risk scenarios before launch. OpenAI says Presence includes simulations, evaluation tools, guardrails, approved actions, and a codex-powered improvement loop. After launch, production sessions and escalations can show where the agent is working and where it needs updates. Codex can propose changes, but teams still test and approve those changes before they roll out. That is important, because a real agent system is not only a model. It is a model plus policies, a model plus permissions, a model plus company data, a model plus escalation rules, a model plus approval. That is why this agent wave is different from the first chatbot wave. The first chatbot wave asked, can the AI produce a good answer? The agent wave asks, can the AI do a useful job under rules? And this is where Google's newest Gemini Flash models fit the story. Because agents do not only need intelligence, they need speed, they need reliability, they need lower cost, they need to handle repeated tasks without making every interaction too expensive. Google's July 21st release was not mainly about the biggest, flashiest model. It was about making agent workflows cheaper and more practical. Google introduced Gemini 3.6 Flash, Gemini 3.5 Flash Lite, and Gemini 3.5 Flash Cyber. The key phrase from Google is efficiency, latency, and reliability to build AI agents at scale. That tells you what the industry is optimizing for right now, not just smarter answers, cheaper repeated actions, faster responses, more efficient background workflows, better computer use, fewer tool calls, more useful agents. This is one of the hidden reasons the agent era is becoming practical now. An impressive demo can be expensive. A production agent has to run again and again and again for thousands of customers across many workflows, inside apps, inside support systems, inside security tools, inside business software. If every step costs too much, the agent does not scale. If every response is too slow, users do not trust it. If every workflow requires too much human cleanup, the company does not get the value. So when Google makes a Flash model more efficient, that is not just a developer story. It is part of the reason AI can disappear into everyday software. Sankey did not announce a new rulebook. He did not reveal a new governing body. He did not identify a championship partner or explain how a football departure would affect every other Southeastern Conference sport. That does not prove internal planning is absent. It means the public evidence stops at serious discussion. And if the Southeastern Conference ever moved beyond discussion, it would have to answer a long list of operational questions. Who creates the rules? Who determines eligibility? Who handles transfer disputes? Who regulates name, image, and likeness activity? Who investigates violations? Who decides punishments? Who administers championships? Who resolves disagreements between schools? Who establishes athlete safety standards? Who negotiates the postseason? Who distributes revenue? And who gives the new champion national legitimacy? The current NCAA model centralizes many of those functions, even when members disagree with how they are performed. An independent structure would either distribute those responsibilities among conferences or create another central organization to replace the one being left. That is the irony at the center of nearly every breakaway proposal. The schools may want to escape a national regulator. To operate at national scale, they may need to build a new national regulator. A Southeastern Conference-only system would also have limits. Its schools could play one another. They could sell valuable media rights. They could create their own championship. But college football draws much of its value from national comparison. Alabama against Ohio State, Georgia against Notre Dame, Texas against Michigan, the Southeastern Conference against the Big Ten, the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Big 12, and the rest of the country. A system that isolates one league could weaken the very national stakes that make its biggest games valuable. That is why most realistic discussions point toward cooperation among multiple major conferences, rather than one league operating alone. The Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference already cooperate on major policy questions. Their joint statement on federal legislation shows shared interest in national transfer standards, clear eligibility rules, athlete protections, and a more stable framework. But cooperation is not the same as agreement on everything. The leagues can differ on playoff size, scheduling models, media strategy, geographic priorities, and how much access other conferences should receive. Building a replacement organization would force those disagreements into the center. It would also require existing contracts to be examined. Media agreements were negotiated under the current competitive structure. Bowl relationships depend on conference membership and postseason expectations. The college football playoff has its own governance and revenue arrangements. School presidents would have to consider whether a departure creates legal, financial, academic, and political consequences beyond football. That makes a breakaway possible in theory, but costly and complicated in practice. It also strengthens the most important counterpoint. The Southeastern Conference may not actually want to leave. Sankey said there is value in a national organization. The conference and the Big Ten continue to negotiate over federal legislation instead of abandoning the process. They have explained what they want changed. They want rules that can operate across state lines. They want clear eligibility and transfer standards. They want protections that reduce instability rather than create new lawsuits. They want athlete benefits and scholarship protections preserved. They want enough flexibility to respond when the environment changes. That behavior looks less like a conference packing its bags and more like a conference telling the current system what it must do to remain acceptable. Of course, that can still function as pressure even when the frustration is sincere. Sankey rejected the idea that the comments were merely leverage, but a statement does not have to be fake to improve a negotiating position. The possibility can be real. The preferred outcome can still be reform. The threat can still change how lawmakers, NCAA leaders, playoff officials, and other conferences respond. That is where trust becomes the real counterweight. A chatbot can be wrong, and that is annoying. An agent can be wrong while touching something real. That is a different risk. If a chatbot gives you a bad paragraph, you can delete it. If an agent files the wrong email, changes the wrong spreadsheet, applies the wrong policy, or updates the wrong customer record, the result matters more. That is why every serious agent story comes back to permissions. What can the agent see? What can it touch? What can it change? When does it need approval? When does a human take over? Can the user review what happened? Can the company audit the decision? Can a mistake be undone? OpenAI Presence is built around that idea. The company defines policies and approved actions. Guardrails can intervene when an interaction moves outside the company boundaries. Simulations test common requests, edge cases, and higher-risk scenarios before launch. Humans can be escalated into the process. Codecs can suggest improvements after launch, but teams still need to approve changes. Grok for Outlook has a different but related version of that same control layer. It can draft in your voice, but nothing sends until you send. It can triage the inbox, but the product page emphasizes reporting back what moved. Gemini Flash Cyber has an even sharper version of the control question, because Google is limiting access to trusted partners. All of these details point to the same truth. The agent era is not only about capability, it is about boundaries. This is where the sports car analogy fits perfectly. The AI tool is the engine. The prompt system is how you drive it. But with agents, there is an extra layer. Now the car is not just giving you directions. It can actually move. So the brakes matter more. The steering matters more. The road rules matter more. The person in control matters more. A faster engine is amazing when the driver knows where they are going. It is dangerous when nobody knows who has permission to turn. That is the mental model for agents. A chatbot is like asking the engine what route it recommends. An agent is like letting the system take a turn, change lanes, or park the car. That can be useful, but only if the rules are clear. So the question for everyday users is not, should I be scared of agents? The better question is, where should I allow agents to act? For low-risk work, agents can be amazing. Summarize this thread, draft this response, write this formula, organize this inbox, find the missing number, prepare the chart, explain what changed. For higher risk work, the user should want more review, send money, deny a claim, change account access, delete files, email a customer, make a legal or financial decision, update a record, approve a refund. Those are not the same kind of task. The more real-world impact a task has, the more the agent needs boundaries, approval, audit, and escalation. That is the practical takeaway. The agent era is not about replacing every person with software. The best version is more specific. AI handles defined pieces of work. Humans set the goal. Humans set the rules. Humans review the important outcomes. Humans handle judgment, exceptions, and accountability. That is the difference between a useful agent and a dangerous shortcut. And it brings us back to the central question. Are we finally moving from impressive demos to AI that does reliable pieces of real work? Yes, but with boundaries. OpenAI Presence shows companies trying to put agents into real support and internal workflows. Gemini Flash shows that the model layer is getting fast and cheap enough for agents to run at scale. Grok in Excel and Outlook shows that agents are moving directly into the daily tools workers already use. This is not one random update. It is a pattern. The agent era is not coming through one giant announcement. It is arriving through 1,000 small handoffs. A support call handled faster, an inbox summarized, a spreadsheet cleaned up, a claim routed, a policy applied, a formula written, a task drafted, a human asked to approve the final step. That is the shift. AI is moving from answering questions to handling assigned work. And for everyday users, the smartest thing is not to worship the tool or fear the tool. The smartest thing is to understand the task. What am I asking this agent to do? What can it access? What can it change? Where does the answer need review? Where does a person need to step in? What is the cost of a mistake? That is how people should think about the next phase, because the agent era will not belong to the person who clicks every new AI button. It will belong to the person who knows when to ask, when to assign, when to approve, and when to keep a human in the loop.